So yeah, we are keeping the tradition of demoing something every Kuma community call. And since we are expecting Kuma 2.6 to be released soon with a new feature, with a new policy, MeshMetric, that's why we were thinking that it's a good idea to show the demo of MeshMetric. MeshMetric, yeah, and Martin, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Do you want to record this?
Oh, is it? Is it not recording? I think it's recording.
Yeah,
Is
it's recording.
It's being
Okay.
recorded.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
It
so
is, yeah.
Okay.
I stopped sharing.
Okay, so I think we can start. Okay, so in the next release, Kuma 2.6, we will add new policy, MeshMetric, that will be responsible for monitoring data planes. The functionality was previously in the mesh itself, and we are simply configuring backends. We have only possibility to configure Prometheus backend with the basic configuration and aggregation of metrics from the application itself, so that the data plane aggregate. So the data plane responds to Prometheus not only with the stats from itself, but also from the app itself. And right now we are moving this functionality from mesh to new MeshMetric policy. This policy looks rather similar to what we have in previously in mesh. We still can configure the scraping of the application. Right now we have only Prometheus backend, but in the future we would like to add support for OpenTelemetry. And another thing that we are adding with MeshMetric is that we are adding the possibility to have multiple Prometheus backends. So let's assume that for some case you would like to have different backend for every mesh you have in your environment. In that case, you can specify the client ID in the Prometheus backend configuration, and when you specify the same client ID in the Prometheus configuration, the Prometheus with this change will be released also this month. So you will have to use the newest Prometheus, but if you specify some client ID on Prometheus and in policy, you will get only the data planes and that this policy applies to. So Prometheus will scrape only those data planes, not all the data planes that have the Prometheus backend enabled. Also, what is changing, previously when you added the aggregation section to scrape metrics from the application or other sidecar, you needed to restart the data plane for this change to apply. Right now, we've added the dynamic configuration of the data plane proxy so that you don't have to redeploy your services after specifying the aggregation on the MeshMetrics. And yeah, this is something new, and this allows us to extend the data plane in the future even further based on the policies. Yeah, so I think that's all here. We can go to a simple demo. I already have some simple Kubernetes cluster with control plane installed and observability and to test servers. When we go to the Kuma GUI, we can see that we have our mesh. It has disabled metrics. When we go to the policies and look at the mesh metrics, there is nothing. When we go to the Grafana, we see that there are no no metrics for the data planes. So right now, when we configure a simple MeshMetric, simple MeshMetrics for our mesh that will apply to the whole mesh, that have the Prometheus backends that will expose metrics on port 8080 and path metrics without the TLS. So we've applied this. We should see our policy here. Yeah, it was applied, and in a couple of seconds we should see the metrics from the data plane. So when we applied the policy, we've configured the sidecar to add a proper listener for our metrics so that the Prometheus can access them. And we've updated the monitoring assignment that we create for the Prometheus so that Prometheus knows about where the data planes are deployed and how to reach them. And where are our metrics? Right. Correct one. I think the Prometheus scrapes by default once every 30 seconds. So we can wait a little bit. I think we have some metrics in the Prometheus. Why they are not here? Oh. Yeah, so we have, as we can see, we have metrics in our dashboards. Okay, so another thing, we can start monitoring the endpoint from our application that serves metrics. And if we apply this policy, we should be able to get the metrics from our test server. This is really simple test server that just responds with echo, so we should see this in our metrics. Oh yeah, there it is at the top. We get the response. From the service, we didn't have to redeploy the data plane. And if we change this to some different endpoint, we should see this change here.
I think you need to wait like 10 seconds for this.
Yeah, by default we are scraping every 10 seconds, but this is easily configurable in the data plane. Yeah, there is our different endpoint, as we can see. So yeah, that's basically all I have to show. Does anyone have any questions around MeshMetric?
Does it work seamlessly if I had mesh backend and then I create MeshMetric? with the
Yeah, you
same.
can have, this is what we have with every mesh, with every policy that configures backend. You can just have the simple policy for mesh that configures only backend, and you can specify to which data plane should apply this backend with mesh service target ref. Also, you can check, for example, you can, with multiple Prometheus backends, we can have one backend for a whole mesh and second backend for some tests for a couple of data planes that we specify with mesh service subset target ref, for example.
Yeah, it's just that today we have this enabled backend, right? Where
Yeah.
we explicitly say which one is enabled. And if in this mesh I create MeshMetric with another backend, does it mean we will prioritize new backend from the MeshMetric policy?
Yeah, as with the merging of policies.
Okay, so we, if we have policy, we don't take backend from the mesh resource.
No, you shouldn't specify anything related to metrics in the mesh resource right now with the MeshMetric.
What will happen is that you will see a warning in the logs that you're using both mesh, like the metrics under the mesh resource and MeshMetric policy, and MeshMetrics will take precedence.
Yeah, that's right.
But will it send to both metrics?
No, we would only send to MeshMetric define one.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have any more questions. Anyone?
Okay. Thank you. From the first look of it and the demo, this doesn't sound too exciting. We basically moved one functionality from mesh to new policy, but the dynamic configuration of the data plane is something really interesting here that I hope will utilize in the future in Kuma. And this will enable us to easily add the OpenTelemetry backend, which have totally different way of collecting metrics. In Prometheus, it is pull-based, and with OpenTelemetry, it's push-based. So, and with the dynamic configuration and how we specify backends in MeshMetrics, you can have simultaneously Prometheus and OpenTelemetry backend enabled, and the Prometheus will scrape the metrics and the data plane will send the metrics to the autocollector simultaneously. And we can also add any filters, aggregations, etc. on the metrics that the data plane can do that we right now don't have possibility to do. So that, for example, you don't collect too much metrics, and with, I don't know, Datadog pay a lot of in the bills.
No, you're right. So we'll produce less endpoint metrics if we can filter them. Yeah, true. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you for today.
Yeah, I think this is it. We don't have anything else for this call. So thank you, everyone. Have a good day. See ya.
See you. Bye.
Thanks. Yeah.